In this video, we're going to do as many multiple choice questions as we can. We won't get through all of them, so make sure to check out the next video where we go through more of them. So let's start with the first one. Notice this says planning a study. So we've actually now moved out of linear regression. So if you're thinking about what chapters did we cover that addresses this content, this would be chapters 11 through 13. 11, 12, and 13. So 11 was introducing you to randomness. 12 was talking about surveys, samples. When we talked about simple random sample, that's SRS, cluster sampling, stratified sampling, systematic sampling, all that stuff. And then chapter 13 was essentially learning about experiments. Key takeaway before I go into any of these, to say something is an experiment, you must have random assignment of treatments. Okay? You must see some random assignment of whatever you're studying to treatments. If you don't have a random assignment of treatments, can you call it an experiment? No. That's a lot of these questions are, if you know that, you'll get it right. Here we go. Which of the following are true statements? In an experiment, some treatment is intentionally forced on one group to note the response. Okay, interesting. In an observational study, information is gathered on an already existing situation. I actually like that one, right? Because they're not talking about random assignment of treatments. So that'd be an observational study. Sample surveys are observational studies, not experiments. That is true, right? If it's an experiment, we have a random assignment of treatment. So I'm going with 2 and 3 on this one. 1, you could try to convince me with 1. The reason I'm a little hesitant with Roman numeral 1 is this like intentionally forced. We never use that phrase, right? We say random assignment of treatments. Right? If you're starting to talk about intentionally forcing people to do something, that gets a little bit into the ethics of it. All right? Let's do number 2. All right, so we have a study on the effect of niacin on cholesterol. 100 subjects who acknowledge, so they're saying, that they are long-time niacin takers had their cholesterol levels compared with those of 100 people who had never taken it. In a second one, you have 50 subjects were randomly chosen to receive the niacin, and 50 were randomly chosen to receive a placebo. Do you guys remember that word placebo? What is a placebo?
Medicine.
It's fake medicine, right? It's sugar pill, right? So it looks exactly like the real thing. So people that are taking it, if they say like, oh man, I'm feeling so much better, they're experiencing something called the placebo effect, right? Just because their brain sees they're taking medicine, they think, oh, I'm feeling better, I'm taking medicine. When in reality, it's called a placebo effect. Okay? All right. So the first study, is there a random assignment of treatments in the first one? Are they randomly assigning people to stuff in the first one? No, right? They're just saying, these people have said, I have taken this, and they're going to examine the results. And these people have said, I have never taken it, and they are looking at the results. So the first one is non-experiment. The first one is a study. What's happening in the second one? 50 subjects were chosen randomly to receive the niacin. And what about the other 50? Randomly chosen to receive a placebo. Is that random assignment of treatments? Yes, it is, Ricardo. So that means that the second one is an experiment. So B. All right, number 3. In one study, subjects were randomly given 500, 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C daily, and they recorded how many colds they came down with during the winter. In a second study, they responded to a questionnaire asking about the average number of sleep they get and the number of colds they get in the winter season. What's happening in the first scenario? Random assignment of treatments. That's an experiment. Are they randomly assigning people to, like, you have this many numbers of sleep, you take this number of numbers of sleep? Not in the second one, right? In the second one, they're just asking you, hey, how much sleep do you get on average, and how many colds did you get? That's called a study, all right? So in this case, the first one is an experiment, and the second one is a study. Oh, I thought this was an interesting one for our school. We're trying to compare the average size math class versus the average English size class in your high school, so Cristo Rey Jesuit. All right. What do you think you would do to gather this data? Survey. Okay. How would you do it? Who would you survey? Okay, interesting. She just said everyone. So if she says everyone surveyed, that really isn't a survey anymore. Now it becomes a census, right? I agree. I would actually do a census too, because this school that you are enrolled in is not very big. So could we actually figure this out by asking everybody? Yes. What if you went to a school that had 6,000 students? Would that be as easy to ask everybody as opposed to 500? Then if you go to that big a school, I probably would lean towards more maybe a sample survey, all right? Because it'd be tougher to talk to everybody. It'd take a lot longer, okay? All right, number 5. 2 studies are run to compare the experiences of families living in high-rise public housing to families living in townhouse subsidized rentals. The first study interviews 25 families who have been in each government program for at least a year. But look at the second one. It randomly assigns 25 families to go to this program and 25 to this program, and then interviews them a year later. What's happening in that second scenario? They're randomly putting them in these programs. So the second one is an experiment. The first one is a study, right? Because of the random assignment of treatments. Let's do number 6. All right. So we've got a person who writes a daily advice column, which you guys don't even probably know what this is anymore. I don't even know. In newspapers across the country. Once asked readers, and this hit pretty hard here as someone who has children, right? Don't ask your parents this. If you had to do it over again, would you have children? Of the more than 10,000 readers who responded, 70% said no.
Oh my God.
Right? Whoa. Man, that's harsh. Yikes. No comment. So now, yes, I would. What does this show? What does this show? The survey is meaningless because of voluntary response bias. I'm intrigued by that, right? Because if people who are reading this newspaper, like they respond to it, who is more likely to respond to these things? Well, people who have strong feelings, one way or the other, were like, yeah, I really want to have, I'm glad I had children. I want to let them know I had children. I would do it again. Or people like, man, having children sucks. I want to tell them that this is something they should not do so people don't have children, right? Those people. What about the people who are like, yeah, it's fine? Or like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Are they going to respond? No, right? Most people that have like a fine, like you look at the Google reviews of something, right? Most people that are responding have like a really awful experience or like a really amazing experience. If somebody just has like an okay experience, are they going to take the time to write a review? Probably not. Okay. No meaningful conclusion is possible without knowing something more about the characteristics of the readers. No, that's not true. We already know that they, in theory, have children. The survey would have been more meaningful if she had picked a random sample of the, 10,000 readers who responded. It definitely would be more meaningful if you do a random sample. I don't think that's going to be the answer here. But yes, definitely having a random sample is better than not. The survey would have been more meaningful if she had a control group. I'm not sure how you would do a control group in a survey. That's really for an experiment. And then finally, this was a legitimate sample, randomly drawn from her readers. They did not actually do any of that stuff. So I'm going to go with A, but you can convince me on C. Can somebody put the desk in front of the door so it doesn't close, please? Thank you. All right, let's do 7, and then I'll be done. I'll do 7, then we'll be done. Which of the following is a true statement? If bias is present in a sampling procedure, it can be overcome by dramatically increasing the sample size. Guys, there's no way. If you know that bias is a part of your sampling procedure, there is no way to get rid of it, no matter what. Even if you increase the sample size, there's no way to do it. All right? There's no such thing as a bad sample. All right? That's not true. There are definitely bad samples. All right? We just kind of read one about the readers responding to the children question. Sampling techniques that use probability techniques effectively eliminate bias. No, right? The best way to eliminate bias is to have a strategy that's going to do your best to get coverage from everybody. Convenience samples often lead to undercoverage bias. Yes, this could happen. Voluntary response samples often underrepresent people with strong opinions. No, if you're asking for people to volunteer their opinion, who's going to give you their opinion? People with strong opinions. So I'm going to go with D. All right. Check back later for the rest of these.